It wasn't the giant leap that changed their life. It was the quiet decision to show up just one more day. Most people think success is dramatic. They believe transformation comes from massive action, overnight breakthroughs, or perfect motivation. But that's a lie. In truth, real change begins invisibly, in the tiny, often boring choices we make when no one is watching. Waking up 5 minutes earlier, choosing a glass of water over a soda, reading one page instead of scrolling one more reel. This is the world of atomic habits. A world where tiny improvements, repeated daily, become the foundation of greatness. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And in the next few minutes, I'll take you on a journey that will reprogram how you think about progress, rebuild your habits from the inside out, and help you become the kind of person who doesn't chase change, but embodies it. So pause, breathe, and lean in, because the habit that could change your entire life might begin right now. Part 1: Tiny changes make a big difference. We all want to change something in life, right? Lose weight, get fit, start reading, quit procrastinating, earn more, become better. But here's the bitter truth: most people fail. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they lack discipline. It's because they're chasing big change with the wrong mindset. You see, we've been taught to believe that success is a result of massive action, that if you want to change your life, you need a dramatic plan, a 90-day transformation, a 5 a.m. miracle, a sudden burst of motivation. But that's not how real transformation works. Real transformation is quiet. It happens slowly, day by day, moment by moment. It starts not with a leap, but with a single step, one small choice, one tiny action, one decision repeated again and again and again. That's the power of atomic habits. Atomic means small, like the tiniest unit of matter, but it also means powerful, because atoms, when split, can unleash unimaginable energy. In the same way, tiny habits might look insignificant in the moment, but over time, they create massive impact. Imagine this: a plane leaving Los Angeles is headed to New York, but if the nose of the plane is turned just 3 degrees south at takeoff, no one notices. It's such a small shift. But that slight change would land the plane in Washington, D.C. instead. That's what tiny changes do over time. They shift your destination, even if you don't notice it today. Most people quit because they can't see the results fast enough. They do the right thing for a week or a month, but nothing changes. They go to the gym, but still look the same. They eat healthy, but don't lose weight. They write every day, but no one reads their work. And slowly, they give up because the change isn't visible. But what they don't realize is that results are never linear. They are delayed. They follow the law of compounding. Just like ice melts at 32 degrees, not at 25 or 28, your habits may not show results until a certain point is reached. But that doesn't mean they're not working. They are, silently, underground, building momentum, waiting for that moment when everything clicks. James Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential, a place where effort is building up, but the results are hidden. And most people quit right before the breakthrough, right before the moment the ice finally cracks, right before the seed breaks through the soil. So here's the truth you need to hear. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are casting a vote for your future self. You don't need to transform your life overnight. You just need to show up today, then tomorrow, and again the next day. Success isn't a one-time event. It's a system, a process of becoming someone through tiny daily habits, not huge goals. We admire winners, the Olympic champions, the billionaires, the authors, the artists, but we forget the hours they spent alone in silence, repeating the same boring practice. We think they're lucky, talented, gifted, but most of them just mastered the art of being consistent when no one was watching. Here's a simple truth: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't wake up excited to brush, but you do it anyway. Why? Because it's automatic. It's become part of who you are. Now imagine if working out felt that natural, or waking up early, or reading a few pages daily. That's what atomic habits build. Unconscious systems that carry you forward even when motivation disappears. And believe me, motivation will disappear. That's why relying on willpower is foolish. You won't always feel inspired, but if your environment, routine, and identity are aligned, you won't need inspiration. You'll simply become the person who does what must be done without negotiation. Now, here's something powerful to reflect on. If you get just 1% better each day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. Not 10%, not 100%, just 1%. That's the power of compound growth. One push-up becomes a workout routine. One page becomes a book. One healthy meal becomes a new lifestyle. One small act done repeatedly rewires your brain, reshapes your identity, and rebuilds your future. And yes, the opposite is also true. Skip the workout once, no big deal, do it again. Feels okay. Keep doing it, and suddenly months have passed. You're back where you started, or worse. Every small habit either builds you up or breaks you down. There is no standing still. So the question isn't, will I change? The question is, what am I changing into? Are your habits making you the kind of person you admire, or slowly turning you into someone you'll regret becoming? You are not a slave to your past. You are not stuck in your circumstances. Every habit is a vote for your future. Choose wisely, because in the end, success isn't built in a day, it's built daily. And the most powerful changes don't come from motivation, talent, or luck. They come from those quiet, invisible victories that seem meaningless today, but shape your destiny tomorrow. This is the truth of atomic habits, and this is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll go even deeper into how to build habits that actually stick by changing who you believe you are. Stay with me. Part 2, build identity-based habits. What if I told you that every action you take is a vote? Not a vote for a political party, not a vote for who's right or wrong, but a vote for who you are becoming. Think about that. Every time you wake up early to write, you cast a vote to become a writer. Every time you go to the gym, you cast a vote to become a fit person. Every time you reach for the book instead of your phone, you cast a vote to become a focused learner. You may not see the results right away, but those votes, they're counting. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. Most people think habits are about what you want to achieve. I want to lose weight. I want to be more productive. I want to make more money. But Atomic Habits flips the question. It doesn't ask, what do you want to achieve? It asks, who do you want to become? This is where real, permanent change begins, not with the goals you chase, but with the identity you adopt. Because here's the truth, behavior that is inconsistent with your identity will not last. You can try to run every day, but if deep down you still believe, I'm lazy or I'm not a runner, you'll eventually fall back. You can start saving money, but if you see yourself as someone who's bad with finances, you'll sabotage your progress. But what happens when you change your identity first? What happens when you stop saying, I want to be disciplined, and instead you say, I am a disciplined person? It's subtle but powerful, because your habits are a reflection of your identity, and your identity is shaped by your habits. It's a circle, a loop, a feedback system. Every action you take is evidence of the type of person you believe yourself to be. And every time you reinforce that belief with action, it becomes stronger, like a muscle. That's why identity-based habits are so powerful. They work from the inside out. Most people try to change from the outside in. They start with results. They want a six-pack, a book, a business. Then they chase those outcomes through behavior, workouts, writing, hustling. But they ignore the core, the identity. And so eventually it falls apart. But when you flip the script, when you start by defining your ideal identity, everything shifts. You no longer need to force habits, you simply act in alignment with who you believe you are. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, the first says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The second says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Who do you think is more likely to succeed? The first still sees themselves as a smoker, just one who's resisting. The second has changed their identity, and their behavior follows. So ask yourself now, what kind of person do I want to become? Do you want to be healthy, or do you want to be someone who lives a healthy lifestyle? Do you want to write a book? Or do you want to become a writer? Do you want to earn more, or do you want to become financially wise and capable? Goals focus on the outcome, systems focus on the process. but identity focuses on the root. James Clear says it best. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to learn an instrument. The goal is to become a musician. Once you identify who you want to become, the question becomes simple. What would a person like that do today? If you want to become a fit person, what does a fit person do after waking up? If you want to become a confident speaker, what would they do this morning? If you want to become a loving partner, how would they treat their spouse today? These questions bring clarity, they guide your actions, and slowly, your habits begin to reinforce the person you're becoming. Remember, identity isn't fixed. It's not something you're born with or stuck with. It's something you build brick by brick, action by action, choice by choice. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes repetition. But each time you show up, you're not just doing a habit. You're becoming someone. Every time you run, you're becoming an athlete. Every time you read, you're becoming a thinker. Every time you speak kindly, you're becoming a better human. This is how true transformation happens, not through pressure or punishment, but through alignment between who you are, what you believe, and what you do. And here's the best part. You can start small. You don't have to believe it fully at first. You just have to act like it's true until the evidence stacks up and the belief takes root. Your actions are the proof. Your habits are the mirror. And your identity is the reflection. So today, choose who you want to become. Then prove it, one small habit at a time. Because in the end, your identity will shape your destiny. And nothing is more powerful than becoming the person who no longer wishes for change, but lives it. In the next part, we'll unlock the first law of habit formation, how to make habits obvious, and why visibility is the key to consistency. Part 3. The first law, make it obvious. You can't change what you don't see. We often blame ourselves for not having discipline, not staying consistent, or not being motivated enough. But maybe, just maybe, the real problem isn't inside us. Maybe the real problem is that we're trying to follow invisible paths. We're expecting change in the dark. The first law of habit formation is simple but powerful. Make it obvious. Because if something isn't obvious, we forget it, we ignore it. And soon, it disappears, buried beneath distractions, noise, and routine. Look around your life right now. How many of your bad habits are obvious? Scrolling your phone, right there next to your pillow. Snacking, always within arm's reach. Notifications, blinking constantly, demanding attention. Now think about your good habits. The book you want to read, is it buried under papers? The running shoes, are they tucked away in a closet? The gratitude journal, is it nowhere to be found? This is not a coincidence. Your environment is either fueling your habits or killing them. And most of the time, it's killing the ones you want and feeding the ones you don't. James Clear reminds us, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And that invisible hand has been guiding you for years without you realizing it. Here's the truth. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our environment. If your cues are unclear, your habits will never become automatic. But if your cues are visible, loud, and emotionally obvious, your habits will eventually become your second nature. So how do we make a habit obvious? We start with awareness. You can't fix what you're blind to. So first, you must see your patterns. James introduces a tool called the Habit Scorecard. You simply write down your daily actions and label them. Positive, negative, neutral. Wake up, check phone, brush teeth, drink water, skip breakfast, rush out, listen to music, procrastinate at work. No judgment, no shame, just truth. Because truth gives you power. Awareness is the first step to control. Once you're aware of your habits, the next step is to design a life that supports the ones you want to build. Let's say you want to start reading. You could set a goal, read more. But that's vague. That's weak. That's easy to ignore. Instead, make it obvious. Leave the book on your pillow every morning so you see it before bed. Open it to the page you want to start. Highlight the quote that excites you. Now it's no longer a forgotten goal. It's a visual cue staring back at you every day. If you want to drink more water, don't just say it. Put the bottle on your desk. Make it clear, accessible, inviting. Want to journal daily? Keep the notebook next to your toothbrush. Want to practice guitar? Hang it on your wall, not store it in a case. Want to eat healthy? Put fruits where you can see them and junk food out of sight. Our brain is wired to respond to what it sees, so we must feed it with the right signals. This is also why bad habits are so hard to break. They're too obvious. The bag of chips, the Netflix icon, the endless scroll. These cues are loud. They're immediate. They trigger craving even before we realize it. So if you want to break a habit, don't fight it head on. Just make the cue invisible. Hide the junk food. Delete the app. Turn off notifications. Make the bad habit harder to see, and suddenly it becomes easier to avoid. One of the most powerful tools in making habits obvious is a technique called implementation intention. It's not just saying what you'll do, but also when and where. Instead of saying, I'll start meditating, say, I will meditate for 5 minutes at 7 a.m. in my bedroom. That level of clarity turns a dream into a plan. Your brain no longer asks, should I do it now? It just follows the roadmap you've built. Another gem is habit stacking. You take a habit you already do and stack a new one on top of it. For example, after I brush my teeth, I'll write one line in my journal. After I make my coffee, I'll read one page. After I take off my shoes, I'll stretch for 2 minutes. It's like attaching a new train car to an existing engine. Your current routine pulls the new habit along, effortlessly. And over time, what once felt new becomes natural. You don't have to remember or force it anymore. It's automatic. This is the real beauty of making habits obvious. You stop depending on motivation. You stop relying on willpower. You build a life that nudges you toward the right path, again and again, without thinking. Because let's face it, willpower fades, motivation comes and goes. But when your surroundings are built for success, you don't need constant effort. You just need to live inside a system that works for you, not against you. So take a look at your environment right now. Does it reflect the person you're trying to become? If not, change it, rearrange it, design it. Because your environment is not just background noise, it is your silent partner in every habit you build. The key isn't to force yourself to change. The key is to design a world where change becomes the path of least resistance. And when that happens, you won't need reminders. You won't need alarms. You won't even need discipline. You'll just become the kind of person who naturally does the right thing because it's obvious, because it's visible, because it's part of your world now. That's the power of the first law. Make it obvious, and your habits will begin to shape you, quietly, powerfully, permanently. In the next part, we'll explore the second law of behavior change, make it attractive, and why desire is the engine behind every habit you keep. Part 4, the second law, make it attractive. Why do we keep doing the things we know are bad for us? Why do we reach for the chips, the phone, the snooze button, even when we promised ourselves we wouldn't? And on the other hand, why do the good habits, the ones we know will make our lives better, feel like a chore? The answer is simple but powerful, because one feels attractive and the other doesn't. At the core of every habit is a feeling, a craving, a desire for something deeper. Not the phone itself, but the dopamine hit. Not the food, but the comfort it brings. Not the scroll, but the escape it gives us from boredom, stress, or pain. This is the heart of the second law of habit formation, make it attractive. Because you don't do habits that feel hard, boring, or punishing. You do what feels good, what feels rewarding, what feels like pleasure, even if that pleasure is temporary. If a habit feels painful or pointless, your brain will resist it. But if it feels enjoyable, exciting, or emotionally rewarding, your brain will crave it. And that's not weakness, that's biology. It's how evolution shaped us, to move toward pleasure and away from pain, to follow the cues that feel rewarding, to chase the things that make us feel good now, even if they hurt us later. This is why most of us fail to build good habits, not because we don't want them, but because they're not emotionally compelling. We think, I should meditate, I should eat clean, I should work on my goals. But should doesn't create action. Desire does. So how do we make good habits more desirable? How do we make them attractive enough that we want to do them, even before we see the results? We begin by understanding the dopamine cycle. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It doesn't spike when you get the reward. It spikes when you expect the reward. The craving happens before the action. The sight of a cookie makes your mouth water. The buzz of your phone makes your fingers itch. The sound of the gym playlist makes you want to move. This is why cues are so powerful. They're tied to how attractive a habit feels. And James Clear introduces a brilliant strategy here: temptation bundling. It's the idea of pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. You don't like working out, but you love music? Then only listen to your favorite playlist at the gym. You find it hard to do laundry, but you love podcasts? Then listen to a podcast only when folding clothes. You don't feel like writing, but you love coffee? Then make yourself a beautiful cup of coffee and write while sipping it. Suddenly, the habit becomes attractive because your brain now connects it with pleasure, with joy, with anticipation. You're not forcing yourself anymore. You're rewarding yourself into action. And over time, your brain begins to crave the habit, not because of discipline, but because it feels good. Another powerful force is the environment of people around you. Human beings are wired to imitate. We pick up habits from the tribe we belong to. The way we speak, eat, dress, think, so much of it is not our own creation. It's absorption. If you spend time with people who read, you'll feel pulled to read. If your friends are fit, you'll likely start moving more. If the people around you are ambitious, your standards rise. This is called social proof, and it's a secret weapon in making habits attractive. So if you want to build new habits, immerse yourself in a culture where your desired behavior is the norm. Join a group. Find a mentor. Follow creators or communities that inspire the behavior you want, because belonging is one of the strongest human cravings. And when a habit helps you feel accepted, respected, or admired, it becomes magnetic. Suddenly, reading isn't just about books, it's about identity. Working out isn't just about muscles, it's about tribe. Saving money isn't just about numbers, it's about confidence. You don't just want the outcome, you want the feeling it brings, the emotion tied to it. That's how we trick our brains into craving what's good for us. So instead of telling yourself, I have to, create an experience that makes you say, I want to. This isn't manipulation, it's design. It's learning how to create systems where your good habits feel rewarding, attractive, exciting. Yes, the results will come later: the muscles, the peace of mind, the career success. But what gets you to show up each day is not the outcome. It's the feeling you get on the way there. So take a moment now and ask yourself, what habit have I been avoiding because it feels boring, painful, or meaningless? Now ask, how can I make it attractive? Can I pair it with something I love? Can I gamify it, make it fun, add music, flavor, movement, or reward? Can I surround myself with people who already live this habit? Because once a habit becomes something you look forward to, once it becomes something that feels good to begin, you no longer need to push yourself. Your brain pulls you in automatically, and in a world full of distractions, stress, and fatigue, that's the power you need. The power to build habits not by pressure, but by pleasure. The power to make change not a punishment, but a path of joy. This is how real transformation begins, not with willpower, but with want power. Make your habits attractive, and your future becomes inevitable. In the next part, we'll explore the third law of habit building: make it easy, and why simplicity is the secret behind unstoppable consistency. Part 5, the third law: make it easy. What if the reason you're not changing your life is because you're trying too hard? What if the path to success isn't about doing more, pushing harder, or grinding longer, but about doing it easier? Most of us believe that success must come with struggle. We've been taught to glorify pain, to worship discipline, to romanticize effort. If it's not hard, we think it's not worth it. But James Clear flips that idea on its head. He teaches us something powerful. If you want to make a habit stick, you must make it easy. Not harder, not heavier, easier. Because change doesn't happen when you're perfect. It happens when you're consistent. And consistency doesn't come from willpower, it comes from simplicity. We don't fail because we're weak. We fail because our systems are too complicated. We set the bar too high, we make the rules too rigid, and when we fall short, we give up. But imagine this: you want to start working out, and instead of planning a 1-hour session, you do just one push-up. You want to read more, and instead of finishing 50 pages, you read just 1 page. You want to meditate, and instead of sitting in silence for 30 minutes, you breathe for just 1 minute. Sounds ridiculous, right? Too small, too insignificant. But that's the point. Small doesn't mean useless. Small means sustainable. James calls this the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Because starting is the hardest part. Once you're in motion, momentum takes over. 1 push-up turns into 5. 1 page becomes a chapter. 1 mindful breath becomes stillness. But you never get there if you don't start. And starting is much easier when the action feels effortless. Think about this. Does a runner run because they have incredible motivation every day? No. They run because they've made running easy to start. The shoes are by the door. The playlist is ready. The environment is set. They've reduced friction. They've removed resistance. They've made the first step automatic. That's the magic of the third law. You don't need to force yourself to do something big. You need to lower the barrier to doing something small, because every habit begins with a first step. And here's something most people get wrong. They think they need to be perfect to succeed. But perfection is a myth, and waiting for the perfect time is a trap. You don't need perfect, you need repetition. James says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And systems are built through action, not overthinking. Want to become a writer? Write 1 sentence. Want to learn a language? Speak 1 word. Want to get fit? Stretch for 1 minute. Do the easy thing. Do the thing you can't fail to do. And repeat it, because motion leads to progress. But there's another trap. We confuse motion with action. We research, we plan, we prepare, but we don't do. Planning to start is not starting. Reading about working out is not working out. Watching motivational videos is not taking action. True transformation begins when motion becomes movement, when the idea becomes action, when the habit becomes real. And to make it real, you must remove every obstacle in the way. No complexity, no delay, no excuses. Design your life to make the habit easier than ever. Want to eat healthy? Prep meals in advance. Keep junk food out of sight. Want to learn guitar? Keep it out of the case and within reach. Want to write daily? Keep a notebook by your bed or open a blank document first thing in the morning. Make the desired behavior so easy, so automatic, that it becomes harder not to do it. And if you want to go even deeper, use a technique called automation. Instead of relying on memory, rely on systems. Set reminders. Use apps. Schedule habits into your calendar. Create subscriptions for healthy groceries. Use autosaves for finances. Stack habits so they follow naturally from one another. The easier the system, the fewer decisions you need to make. And the fewer decisions, the more energy you can use on what really matters. Because decision fatigue is real. And when we're tired, we fall back into what's easy. So make the right thing the easy thing, and let the system carry you forward. Remember this truth. You don't need intensity to change your life. You need consistency. And consistency only survives when it's easy to repeat. Success isn't about doing something once in a grand way. It's about doing something simple over and over again until it shapes who you are. Greatness isn't built through one giant leap. It's built through thousands of tiny, easy, almost invisible steps, repeated daily. You might not see the change today, but the action you take today sets the direction for tomorrow. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait to feel ready. Just make it easy and start. Because the easier it is to start, the harder it becomes to stop. And that's when habit becomes identity. That's when change becomes permanent. That's when effort becomes effortless. So the next time you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or too tired to change, remember this. You don't need to be amazing. You just need to show up. Make it so easy that showing up becomes who you are. And when that happens, change doesn't feel like a battle anymore. It feels like a rhythm, a flow, a life you've designed to win. In the next part, we'll explore the fourth and final law of habit building. Make it satisfying, and discover why feeling good is the glue that makes habits stick for life. Part 6, the fourth law, make it satisfying. Why do bad habits feel so good right now, but leave you full of regret later? And why do good habits often feel hard now, but lead to pride, strength, and success in the long run? Because your brain is wired for immediate rewards. It craves satisfaction now, not later, not next week, not someday. If a habit feels good immediately, your brain wants to repeat it. If it feels like a punishment, your brain resists it, even if you know it's good for you in the future. This is why we binge junk food instead of cooking, why we scroll social media instead of working, why we skip workouts, avoid reading, and procrastinate. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't care, but because the reward is delayed. The fourth law of habit building teaches us something powerful: make it satisfying. Because satisfaction is what seals the habit. It's what tells your brain, yes, this was worth it, let's do it again. Habits are formed by a feedback loop: cue, craving, response, reward. And if the reward doesn't feel good now, the loop is broken. You might force yourself to go to the gym once or twice, but if you walk out feeling empty, drained, or discouraged, you're unlikely to go again. On the other hand, if you walk out proud, smiling, listening to your favorite music, or checking off your workout on a habit tracker, that feeling of satisfaction tells your brain, yes, that felt good. Let's repeat it. In a world full of instant gratification, we need to build systems that make good habits instantly rewarding, even in small ways. That could be something as simple as checking a box on your calendar, crossing off the habit on your tracker, giving yourself a small treat after the behavior, saying out loud, I'm proud of myself, celebrating the action, not just the result. It might feel silly, but it works, because your brain doesn't care if the reward is logical. It cares if it feels good. This is where the concept of habit tracking becomes magical. Every time you mark an X on your calendar, every time you color in a box, tap an app, or fill a journal, you're reinforcing your identity. You're not just completing a task, you're telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who shows up. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. I am building momentum. And momentum is powerful. It creates its own energy, its own pride, its own motivation. James Clear says, what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So make your good habits feel rewarding and make your bad habits feel unsatisfying. Let's be real, your brain doesn't care about your future goals. It cares about how something feels right now. So trick it, design the reward, create satisfaction in the moment, not just in the outcome. This could mean celebrating the behavior, not the result. Don't wait until you've lost 10 kilograms to feel proud. Feel proud after each meal you control, after each workout, after each small win. Because when you enjoy the process, you don't need to chase the finish line. You already feel like a winner every day. There's another reason satisfaction matters. Emotion creates memory. The more emotionally positive an experience is, the stronger it's etched into your brain. So if you want your habits to last, you need to associate them with good feelings. Make your workouts fun. Make your reading time peaceful. Make your journaling relaxing. Make your healthy meals colorful and flavorful. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to make the experience feel good enough to repeat. And what about the flip side? How do we use the fourth law to break bad habits? We flip the rule. If we want to break a bad habit, we need to make it unsatisfying. We need to associate it with guilt, shame, or accountability. That doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means making the consequences visible. Create a social contract. Tell someone you trust, if I do this, I'll owe you money. Join an accountability group. Make the consequences real. Because if the bad habit feels immediately painful or embarrassing, it will lose its power. Imagine skipping a workout and having to tell your mentor, or binge eating and watching your progress chart go red. That sting can protect you from self-sabotage. The fourth law is about emotional reinforcement. It's not just about logic, it's about how you feel right now. So stop waiting for the long-term benefits to motivate you. Create a system where the habit itself feels good. You don't have to love the habit right away, but you can start loving what it represents. Freedom, progress, pride, peace, power. Make that emotion real. Make it visible. Make it satisfying. Because when something feels good, you want to come back. And that's the key. Satisfaction builds repetition. Repetition builds identity, and identity builds a life. So don't ask, what's the best habit to build? Ask, what's the habit I can enjoy enough to repeat? Because the habit that feels rewarding is the one that sticks. And in the end, this journey is not about discipline or perfection, it's about momentum, joy, and emotional truth. The truth that change doesn't have to feel like punishment. It can feel like progress you can smile about. Make it satisfying, and you'll make it permanent. In the next part, we'll flip the coin and learn how to break bad habits by using the inverted laws of behavior change. Get ready to take control of the habits that are holding you back. Part 7. Break bad habits effectively. We all have a version of ourselves that we hide, a version filled with habits we don't talk about, the things we do when no one's watching, the choices we make that leave us disappointed in the mirror. Late night binge eating, constant scrolling, overspending, procrastination, self-sabotage. We don't want to live this way, and yet we do. Why? Because breaking bad habits isn't about being strong or disciplined. It's about being smart. James Clear gives us a powerful truth. You don't eliminate a bad habit by fighting it. You eliminate it by redesigning the system that supports it. Bad habits aren't broken with force. They're broken with strategy. The same 4 laws we use to build good habits. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying, can be reversed to break bad ones. Let's begin with the first. Make it invisible. If a habit starts with a cue, the best way to stop it is to remove the cue. If you check your phone first thing in the morning, don't sleep next to it. If you eat junk food late at night, don't keep it in the house. If social media drains your time, log out, delete apps, block sites. You can't be tempted by what you don't see. We underestimate the power of environment. But your surroundings are constantly triggering behavior. Change your space, and you change your decisions. That's the secret. You don't rise above your habits. You sink into the level of your design. Now the second law. Make it unattractive. Most bad habits feel good. That's why we repeat them. But what if we changed how we looked at them? Every time you reach for that cigarette, visualize the black lungs. Every time you scroll endlessly, remind yourself of what you're missing out on. Your dreams, your time, your growth. Every time you overeat, remember how it steals your energy, your confidence, your power. Reframe the craving. Instead of focusing on the short-term pleasure, focus on the long-term cost. Because every action has a price. And if you keep ignoring the bill, it eventually breaks you. Ask yourself, what is this habit really giving me? And what is it secretly stealing? Then move to the third law, make it difficult. Bad habits thrive on convenience. They're easy, instant, effortless. So make them harder. You don't need superhuman willpower, you just need to create friction. Put your phone in another room, set time limits on apps, unfollow toxic accounts, cancel subscriptions. Don't make the bad choice easy, make it annoying. Even a few extra seconds of inconvenience can stop a destructive loop. If you're tempted to drink, don't keep alcohol in your home. If you overspend, delete the shopping apps. If you binge watch, remove your streaming apps from your home screen. Make it so hard to start the habit that you give up before it begins. That brings us to the final rule. Make it unsatisfying. You keep repeating a bad habit because it feels good right away. But what if it felt uncomfortable, embarrassing, public? This is where accountability comes in. Tell a friend, a coach, a partner, if I do this habit again, I owe you $500. If I skip this routine, I have to explain why. Suddenly, the cost becomes real, visible, tangible, and that sting will remind you next time. The brain remembers pain more vividly than pleasure. Use that. You can also track your behavior. Every time you give in, mark it, see the pattern, see the truth, because nothing changes until it becomes real. Here's what most people miss. You don't break bad habits by stopping them. You break them by replacing them. You can't just stop smoking. You need to start breathing deeply when anxious. You can't just stop scrolling. You need to start reading or moving. You can't just stop eating sugar. You need to start fueling your body with something better. Every bad habit is serving a purpose, a need, a feeling. You must meet that need differently. You can't leave a void and expect it to stay empty. Nature and your brain hates a vacuum. So instead of just removing, replace, redesign, rebuild. Every time you catch yourself falling back, pause. Don't punish. Ask, what triggered this? What was I feeling? What need am I trying to fill? And how can I fill it better next time? This is self-mastery, not control. Compassion. Because breaking bad habits isn't about becoming someone else, it's about returning to who you really are, before the distractions, before the coping, before the pain. And the more aware you become, the less those habits control you. You don't fight them anymore. You simply stop feeding them. Your power is in your choice. You can wake up tomorrow and design a life that leaves no room for self-destruction. A life where your environment lifts you, where your behavior honors you, where your habits reflect the best version of you. You are not your habits, you are the architect of them. And the same mind that built the cage can also build the key. So take that first step today. Remove the cue, reframe the craving, increase the friction, feel the cost, and slowly, the bad habits that once controlled you will become weaker, and the person you were meant to be will start to shine through. Not because you were perfect, but because you got smarter, stronger, and more intentional. The battle is not against who you are, it's against who you're pretending to be when you let your habits decide for you. Today, you take that power back. In the next part, we'll go deep into the truth about motivation and willpower, why they always fail, and what actually creates lasting change. Part 8, the truth about motivation and willpower. Have you ever woken up full of motivation only to lose it by noon? You felt unstoppable in the morning, but somewhere between reality, resistance, and routine, it just slipped away. And then comes the guilt, the shame, the question we all ask ourselves: why can't I stay motivated? Let me give you a truth most people will never tell you. Motivation is a myth, willpower is unreliable, and discipline fades when life gets hard. What really changes your life is not the fire you feel once in a while. It's the structure you build when the fire is gone. We love the feeling of motivation because it's powerful, it's emotional, it gives us hope, but it's also temporary and it lies. Motivation tells you you'll feel like it tomorrow, you'll have more energy next week, you'll be better after a break. But the truth is, tomorrow rarely brings more willpower. Next week is just as busy, and the right time never shows up. James Clear cuts through this illusion with clarity. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. What does that mean? It means you don't need more motivation. You need a plan that works without it. A system that runs even when you're tired, uninspired, or broken. Because here's something raw and honest. There will be days you don't want to move. Days when your heart is heavy, when your energy is gone, when no quote, no podcast, no sunrise will get you going. And in those moments, motivation won't save you. But systems will, routines will, identity will. This is where most people fall. They wait to feel like doing the work. But the secret is, you don't act because you're motivated. You become motivated because you act. Action doesn't follow emotion. Emotion follows action. You take the first step, and then motivation shows up. You begin, and then confidence grows. You repeat, and then momentum builds. Motivation is not the engine, it's the reward. So stop chasing it. Start building systems that don't care how you feel. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up excited to brush. You just do it. It's not motivation, it's identity, it's routine, it's non-negotiable. Now imagine if your fitness, your reading, your writing, your growth became that automatic, that natural, that consistent. That's what habits do. You don't need to feel powerful. You just need to feel ready enough to begin. Not perfect, just in motion. And what about willpower? Willpower is like a battery. It drains through the day. The more choices you make, the more resistance you face, the weaker it becomes. That's why so many people break at night. Why we binge after a long day. Why we collapse into old patterns when we're exhausted. But you can't live a great life based on what you might resist. You need to build a world where good choices are easy and bad ones are invisible. That's the brilliance of habit design. It's not about resisting chocolate. It's about not buying it in the first place. It's not about fighting to read. It's about keeping a book on your pillow. It's not about struggling to write. It's about opening the document before distractions begin. When you reduce friction, when you design your environment, when you lower the barrier to entry, you no longer need to fight. You just flow. This is how you win without burnout, without guilt, without endless mental battles. Because you've stopped depending on motivation or willpower, you've built discipline into the system. Now let's go deeper. There's a shift that happens when you stop asking, "What do I want to achieve?" and start asking, "Who do I want to become?" When your actions are driven by identity, habits become effortless. You don't need motivation to act like the person you already believe you are. You don't need willpower to do what aligns with your self-image. If you believe you are a reader, you read. If you believe you are healthy, you move. If you believe you are disciplined, you keep showing up. It's not effort, it's alignment. So don't wake up tomorrow and ask, "What should I do today?" Ask, "What would the person I want to become do today?" Would they sleep in or rise early? Scroll endlessly or write one paragraph? Eat mindlessly or nourish their body? Complain or reflect? Quit or keep going? You're always casting votes for the kind of person you want to be. Every action is a signal, a vote, a brick in the house of your identity. And no one builds a mansion overnight, but brick by brick, habit by habit, they rise. So throw away the fantasy of being endlessly motivated. Let go of the guilt of not having infinite willpower. Replace it with strategy. Replace it with simplicity. Replace it with identity. Because the ones who win aren't the most inspired, they're the most consistent. They don't rely on feelings, they rely on systems. They don't chase motivation, they create momentum. And you can too. The next time motivation fades, smile. Because now, you don't need it. You've built something stronger, wiser, unstoppable. You've become the kind of person who keeps showing up, no matter how you feel, no matter the weather, no matter the world. And in that is your real power. In the next part, we'll explore the secrets of advanced habit mastery, how to go from good to great, and how small tweaks can unlock massive transformation. Part 9, Advanced Habit Mastery, Going from Good to Great. It's easy to get good, but getting great? That's different. You've built the habits, you've shown up consistently, you've seen changes in your energy, your mindset, your life. But now it's time to level up. Because there's a hidden trap that comes after success. It's comfort, and comfort is the silent killer of greatness. Many people build habits to escape rock bottom. But once life improves, they stop growing. They slow down. They settle. But you didn't come this far just to stay here, did you? James Clear teaches us something powerful, that true mastery isn't about doing more. It's about refining what already works. It's about going deeper, not faster. It's about evolving from a habit doer to a habit designer. So what separates the good from the great? It starts with awareness. Once your habits are consistent, the next question is, are these habits still serving my highest self? Because what got you here won't take you there. Maybe your workout routine helped you lose weight, but now, is it helping you gain strength? Maybe journaling helped you process emotions, but is it helping you grow emotionally? Mastery begins with reflection. Asking yourself regularly, what can I adjust, upgrade, or eliminate? Because habits aren't just about action, they're about direction. You could be running every day, but are you running in circles or are you moving forward? The next step is precision. Great performers don't just show up, they measure, they adjust, they tweak every detail. Good is generic, great is intentional. Track your reps, time your focus, optimize your sleep, refine your diet, adjust your reading list, fine-tune your morning routine. Small changes, 1% improvements. Over time, they multiply into excellence. This is what James calls the aggregation of marginal gains. If you get 1% better each day for a year, you'll be 37 times better by the end. That's not magic. That's math. That's mastery. But here's the secret nobody talks about. Greatness is boring. It's not fireworks. It's not always exciting. It's repetition, reflection, repetition again. The best don't get bored with basics. They fall in love with them. They don't chase variety. They chase depth. If you're trying to build a business, you don't need 10 new ideas. You need one good idea done 10,000 times better. If you want to become a world-class athlete, you don't need to switch routines every week. You need to master the fundamentals until they're second nature. Because greatness isn't in what you add, it's in what you repeat with excellence. Now comes the third layer, challenge. The habits that once pushed you may no longer stretch you, so you must raise the standard. If you've read 30 books, try writing your own. If you've worked out consistently, try competing. If you've saved money, try investing. If you've meditated daily, try a silent retreat. Mastery requires resistance, and resistance builds strength. Push past the plateau. And finally, the most advanced level of habit mastery is identity alignment. Ask yourself, who am I becoming because of these habits? Your habits are not just actions. They are votes for the kind of person you believe you are. When you treat your habits like sacred rituals, not just checkboxes, but reflections of your identity, you start to embody greatness. You don't just run, you become an athlete. You don't just write, you become a communicator. You don't just lead, you become a visionary. And at this level, you begin to influence others. Because mastery is not just about personal gain, it's about legacy. People watch how you show up. Your discipline, your focus, your quiet consistency, your integrity when no one's watching. That is mastery. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. So here's the truth. You don't need to add more habits. You need to master the ones you already have. You don't need to be better than others. You need to be better than your past self. You don't need motivation. You need momentum. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be deliberate. This is how you go from good to great. Not by chasing, but by refining. Not by more noise, but by deeper focus. Not by speed, but by mastery. Every small action, every intentional choice, every 1% improvement, it's shaping something bigger than a habit. It's shaping who you are. And when you operate at this level, the world can't ignore you. Because excellence is always visible, even in silence. In the final part of this journey, we'll go beyond habits and learn how to design a lifelong system of growth. So you never stop evolving, never stop building, and never stop becoming who you were meant to be. Part 10, Design a System for Lifelong Growth. Everything in life comes down to one question. Will you grow or will you stay the same? Because every day you are either evolving or decaying. There is no standing still, there is no neutral. Life is motion, and motion demands a system. By now, you've built habits, you've reshaped your identity, you've experienced progress, you've tasted what it feels like to take control. But the real challenge begins now. Can you stay consistent when the excitement fades? Can you stay focused when no one's watching? Can you stay committed when life gets messy? This is where systems become your superpower. Not goals, not bursts of motivation, not short-term effort, but a system you can live inside for the rest of your life. James Clear tells us something most people miss. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals are temporary. Systems are eternal. Goals are about the result. Systems are about the process. A goal says, I want to lose 10 kilograms. A system says, I eat clean, I train daily, I move like an athlete. A goal says, I want to write a book. A system says, I write 500 words every day at 6 a.m., no matter what. A goal says, I want to be confident. A system says, I speak the truth, I keep promises to myself, I walk with presence. Lifelong growth doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. So how do you design a system that lasts a lifetime? Start with clarity of identity. Who do you want to be long-term? Not just what you want to achieve this year, but who you want to become in this life. That image, that vision is your compass. Every habit, every choice, every routine should align with that identity. Second, simplify. Lifelong systems are simple, repeatable, sustainable. Too many people chase complexity, but complexity breaks under pressure. Simplicity survives storms. What are the few core habits that nourish your mind, body, and soul? Keep those, repeat those, refine those. A simple system is a strong system. Third, track your behavior. What gets measured gets improved, not with judgment, but with awareness. Reflect weekly, adjust monthly. Ask yourself, what's working? What feels forced? Where am I drifting? What's my next small upgrade? You are not a machine. You will change. So let your system evolve with you. Fourth, engineer your environment. Because willpower is weak, but design is powerful. Make your home a reflection of your habits. Make your workspace a zone of focus. Make your phone a tool, not a trap. Make your circle one that breeds growth. If your environment pulls you forward, you won't need to push as much. Fifth, build in resets. Even the strongest systems fall apart without recovery. Create space in your schedule for silence, time for rest, moments for evaluation. This is not laziness. This is alignment. And finally, remember, a system is only as strong as the person inside it. That person is you. And if you ever lose direction, come back to your foundation. Tiny changes matter. Identity shapes behavior. Simplicity wins. Repetition creates mastery. Emotion builds momentum. Systems create freedom. Growth is always possible. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to live smarter. And the smartest way to live is to make your growth automatic. So design it, live it, refine it, let it evolve. Because this journey of habits, it's not just about self-improvement. It's about self-respect. It's about proving to yourself that you are worthy of the life you dream of. You've come this far, not because you had the perfect plan, but because you kept showing up. And if you keep designing your system will keep designing your life. You are no longer controlled by motivation. You are guided by identity. You are driven by design. This is your power. This is your path. This is lifelong growth. Thank you for walking this powerful journey through Atomic Habits. If this series helped you transform even 1% of your life, imagine what happens when you apply it every single day. Don't just be a student of habits. Become a master of your identity. Like, share, and subscribe to continue evolving with us. Your growth is just beginning.